Hi, this is Steve from Nothing Ventured, Nothing Gamed, here to bring you an unboxing of the new game that we just got in called Bunkers and Badasses from Nerdvana Games, inspired by the Borderlands series of video games.
Welcome, fine ladies, to your first session of the most coolest game in the world, Bunkers and Badasses!
Okay, so here's the box. It's got this really cool dragon-ish, Pandora kind of inspired dragon. Not dragon. It's a multi-mouthed dragon because Borderlands is weird with the monsters. You know, anytime you add guns and radiation to monsters, they're always going to look weird. But the artwork is really cool. We can get in this here. It's kind of got, now I got the deluxe edition, so some of this stuff may not be the same for the regular edition. I believe this is still available on the website at the launching of this video. But as you see, kind of like got this faux gilding around the edges. And it's got this cool dragon breathing fire, bunkers and badasses. Rah! Funny enough, in the second Borderlands video game, there was a DLC expansion that had you basically playing the characters of the people playing Bunkers and Badasses run by Tiny Tina in the game, which is kind of funny. It's kind of where this idea, I believe, came from. And they went ham. I will say that if not for nothing, from what I've seen, this game is ridiculousness turned to 11. And that's the best kind of ridiculousness. As you see, the game comes with a bunch of cardboard pawns. As you see here, they are double-sided. So no worries there. The artwork is really, really good. I mean, they're cardboard pawns. I mean, you can't, there's not too much you're going to be expecting from a little pawn that, I mean, you can probably wading through dozens of these guys every combat. But the cool thing I found is when I first looked through this, there's only 3, there's not that many. And the cool thing is it's got tokens and bits and bobs, but there's not an oppressive amount of things you have to track in this game. Well, and when it comes to tokens. But the cool thing is, obviously you have these like guys here and you have these characters here, but then you have things that look like they're sketches from Tiny Tina, which I always thought was a cool inclusion, and they may reference one of the adventures in the game. But then you have like regular monsters here, spiders. Oh, it's not spiders. And you have more. And then you have more of these ones that look like they're, like I said, sketches from Tiny Tina. And as I pop out all the tokens, because holy, this is weird. And then you have more of these regular rendered characters. I still think that was a great inclusion. And then, you always have to have your unicorn of death. But you get 3 sheets of these. Oh, there we go. You get 3 sheets of these. There's plenty, I will say, in this box, there is plenty of room for you to fit baggies for these tokens. There's tons of room. It looks like a big box, and it looks like a lot of times when we see big boxes, we go, oh man, that thing's going to be packed to the gills. Now, albeit there's a lot of stuff in here, there's still plenty of room for you to put underneath some of these inserts, which we'll get to in a second. There's still plenty of room for you to fit little baggies of tokens, and there's kind of a spot for everything, which is kind of cool. Okay, we're going to go to that in just a second. But then you have the BM screen. And the cool thing about this game, and I've been looking through this for a little bit now, the cool thing about this game is this game really leans into its aesthetic, right? So this is the BM screen. This is the person who's running the game. All the useful information you need, how to roll guns, how does combat work, all the useful randomizer charts for rolling random chaos that is definitely bound to happen in the game if my camera would focus. Come on, my camera is not cooperating with me. There we go. Then we have gun stats. We have rarity rolls. Very, very similar to the actual video game where, you kill monsters and you get random loot. But a couple of things I like about, the one thing I really like about this is it really leans into its aesthetic. Because there's parts like this where it's like, oh, Bunkers and Badasses, but Tiny Tina wrote in Tiny Tina's Bunkers and Badasses, which I thought was a cool little nod. And then you even have on the front of the DM screen, Tiny Tina always leaves notes. This will actually go into more into the rule book, but you always see these little notes that Tiny Tina makes. Always bring snacks, and there's just cool little neat little tricks here. You do have a bunch of character sheets that they come with. So obviously, I believe this is available on their website, so you can print out more. You can always just make a photocopy of these. You have different character sheets for the different characters. And I believe there are pre-gens in here as well as blank character sheets. So you can kind of just pick up and start playing. But also you can have your own character sheets to make your own characters, which is part of the fun of the game. A lot of this game rolls around randomly rolling your character. Obviously, some things you can pick, and you can always ignore it and just pick what you want. But like I said, this game really leans into the aesthetic of the chaos of Pandora. You have a map here, which I believe is double-sided. Yes, it is double-sided here. You have a board, which you can draw your maps. It's just blank. And then this one has a little bit of artwork in the corners here. As I make a whole ton of noise. You got artwork here. This is, I believe, dry erasable, and it comes with a dry erase marker, and that will also become important when we get to the gun cards. But it comes with this game board. You get these are just stands for the tokens for those cardboard pawns we're going through. They're just little standees, so you can stand up your monsters. You get a whole bunch. Like I said, get the dry erase marker. And then now we're going to get to the important things, the guns. Okay, so now we're getting to the meat of the game right here. Gun cards. So if you haven't played Borderlands before, Borderlands has a loot system where you literally can randomly roll millions of guns. So anytime you pick up loot, when you kill monsters, you have a chance of getting loot. And then it's randomly rolled. What type of gun it is. It could be it could be an assault rifle, it could be a pistol, it could be a rocket launcher, a sniper rifle, and they have all these different gun cards. But the other thing is that they're in the world of Borderlands, there's different brands of guns. You have up here, Skulldugger is a brand of gun, which has a mechanic where it does more damage, but it gets hot. So when you reload it, you take damage. Then you have Malefactor here, all their guns, they specialize in having elemental effects on their guns, and their guns always have an elemental effect of some sort. Dahlia is and there's different, like I said, there's pistols, submachine guns, shotguns, and then you have all these different cards. Now, these cards are also dry erasable because there are certain things you're going to get that's going to modify this. And then it'll show you the dice type of damage, depending on the rarity of the gun. Here's another Malefactor gun. Anyone who's played the game will recognize this gun. Some guns that are very, very powerful will have red text. Red text are special abilities that happen on certain triggers in the game. And they included that into this game. Double trouble. I'm not even going to say that word. I can't. Gun gunner. Yeah, so not all guns have the red text on them. Nasty ogre. So this cool thing is that where actually you would write in with your dry erase marker, if my camera would focus. There we go. If I had some sort of mod that increased my accuracy, I would actually write in on the card what pluses and minuses that I would have to this. And maybe I have a damage mod that increases the damage even more, and I would just write that in here. And there's 2 decks of these cards. You're getting a lot of different cards. Some of these are based on rarity, because obviously different rarities of guns, even of the same type, they change the damage type, and they change the accuracy and how many hits you get for rolling a certain number. So obviously the way this game works is when you roll your accuracy, if you roll a 1, you miss because there's no 1 here. You roll a 2 to 7, you get 2 hits and no crits. If you roll an 8 to 15, you get 3 hits and no crits. If you roll a 16 or better, you get 2 hits and a crit. And that's how this little breakdown works. Now, obviously, when you roll your D20, you're going to add your modifier if you have one. Some of the guns start off as really low quality. They also give you blank cards to make. They also give you blank cards to make your own guns, which is, I think, the most fun. And this is probably just for generic cards. The ones that I was showing you before are probably unique guns that are already made for you that can drop in the game. But these here are blank guns for you, kind of your generic guns for when you want to roll up your own gun and you want to roll a random gun, which is going to happen a lot in the beginning of the game. And you can. And you notice that based on the color, like this border is gray here. That means it's a gray gun. And then you have green, which is slightly better quality. And then you have blue, purple, which is even better. And then you have legendary orange, the best quality. So obviously, depending on which type of gun you get, a sniper rifle versus an assault rifle, the damage type is going to be different. So this is why they give you blank cards. So obviously, based on, say you're rolling up a random gun, you don't know if it's going to be a pistol, you don't know if it's going to be a shotgun or a sniper rifle. So these blank cards come in really useful because if you want to roll a purely random gun, they can't put the dice on here because they don't know what you're rolling. Plus, they don't know what kind of mods you're going to get, what kind of elemental effects they're going to be on it, if any. So it's really cool that they gave you a whole bunch of kind of already made cards that you can use, but they also gave you a whole bunch of blank cards that you can kind of just come up with wacky, crazy stuff on your own, which is kind of part of the draw of the game is the billions of guns that it could drop in the game because the game in the computer game would randomly generate you all types of weird guns. Some guns that shoot backwards, some guns that when you reload, you throw them in and explode. I'm not sure how many of the mechanics of the original video games that they introduced, but I hope it's a lot of them because some of the traits were just wacky.
Now pick your characters. You got the Necromancer, the Commando, the Siren.
Siren. Dibs. My siren's name is Brick, and she is the prettiest.
You also get, for the players, you also get miniatures. So these aren't cardboard cutouts. These are actual miniatures. And we'll take a look at a couple of them here. You have Not Roland. For those of you who played the game, you'll know why I said that. And they even make a funny comment in the book about this. Now, they don't name them as these characters, but this is basically the Zero style character who has guns but also a sword, and he's like weird cyber ninja because, why have any game without having cyber ninjas? Because you just need cyber ninjas. You have the Gunzerker from the second game. Just walking around with 2 guns, going crazy, just screaming at people. It looks pretty cool. And I think this guy's called the Berserker. It's Brick. Brick's in the game because why shouldn't Brick be in the game? Because Brick is Brick. He's awesome. He's got a freaking rocket launcher.
What's initiative?
It says which order we attack in.
I punched the initiative.
And there's also a bunch of sirens in the game. They give you 2 sirens. It was a class in all the games where they use crazy psychic powers to blow stuff up and do weird stuff. There's 2 different sirens. I believe there's a rule that only one player can play a siren just because there's lore about the sirens in the game that is important. And you could also play a psycho. In the original game, these were, come on, focus camera. In the original game, these were just bad guys. In the subsequent games, you were able to play these guys. They're crazy. They're just crazy. They can use guns, they can use melee weapons, but they're just insane. Just, because why not? You have a bunch of different miniatures that you can be. They're all based on the different classes that are in the game. The game also, I got the deluxe version, so it came to a little extra stuff. But I believe that the base game is going to come with at least the set of dice. So any of you who've seen us play any other game, you're going to have a regular set of polyhedral dice, which you'll use throughout the game. These are a standard set of 7 set of dice. You have a D4 You have your standard D6, your D8, your 2 D10s, your D12, and your D20. And your D20 has 2 special symbols on it. Right. Yeah, you have your D4, your D6, D8, 2 D10, 2 D10 here, D12, and then you have a special. You have a special D20 here. It's a standard D20, but it does have 2 special symbols on it. You have the 1, which is a bomb symbol, which is never good. I don't know if it's actually good, but rolling ones is, it's never fun. And then you have the 20, which is the Borderlands symbol, which is awesome. The deluxe version came with the badass die. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to come in the regular version or if the regular version is still available. I got this kind of on really early pre-order, but this is the come on, camera. This is the badass die. Now, the badass die can't really be used as a regular D20 because it's got a lot of symbols on it. It's got many, many symbols. It's got many of those bombs with the little X's in its eyes. It's got the Borderlands symbol, and that Borderlands symbol shows up a couple of times. The bomb symbol shows up a few times. And just to give you a size comparison, this is the die that comes in the game, which is about the size of a standard D20. And then this is the badass die, and it's badass because it's big, and it's badass. And like I said before, this game really leans into its aesthetic because the cover for the miniatures has Tina saying, "My friends," and it kind of lines up with the big dice here, the big boy dice, and my friends. So it comes with this nice little case here, not a case, but a little insert that you can keep all the things organized. And it also has this little insert where you can keep your extra stuff here. This is where the dry erase marker goes. And then this is where you keep your cards. Like I said, there's plenty of storage in here to put the tokens in here, or you can put the tokens underneath these inserts because there's tons of room in this insert. So some games, they don't have a ton of room. This one's got a ton of room. Now we're going to talk about the rulebook. So yet again, the rulebook, it's got that same artwork, the same kind of faux gilding around the edges. Got some information on the back. Yet again, cool little Tiny Tina little writings. Roll for initiative, Tiny Tina's, and she writes in this book a lot. And this really cool aesthetic thing that they did in the game is, and I'm trying to get to a spot where it's not in an adventure because I don't want to spoil you guys for anything. You'll experience it for yourself. So things like this, right? So if the camera will come on and cooperate with me, in this writing, it almost looks like Tiny Tina kind of added this little piece of paper in there, and it's printed in there. It's not actually an added piece of paper, but it's as if she is making corrections to the thing that she didn't think were good enough. And she'll write these little comments and little extra boxes, and it's just a testament to the aesthetic of the game. You have really cool artwork. Here's a location artwork that they did. Some kind of sketch style artwork. Rules for guns, rules for combat. Here's that little section I mentioned about Roland, but not really Roland. Like I said, the ones who know will know. Don't want to spoil anything if you haven't played the game yet. You have the sirens using weird, strange magic powers, just because why not? And also guns. Yet again, more of that faux alteration work in this book here. And, these entries here look like they were changed because it wasn't badass enough. You have little sections here that Tiny Tina is making little notes and just being all around hilarious. There's an entire section on how to help your other people who haven't used dice before to tell which dice are which I think is a lovely section right here, and it made me chuckle. It gives you a little illustration of there's a system in here called the badass system. Sometimes the players want to try to do something kind of crazy, and it kind of gives you rules for how to do that, as well as what's not badass enough and what is badass enough. So you got this little section right here. I think the fact that they lean so heavily into their aesthetic is awesome. It wouldn't be Borderlands without some of this craziness here. Here's a section that this is, I think, one of the adventures, but it just shows you that Tiny Tina likes to sketch some stuff. And she's go ahead and making rainbows, and there's that pony that we saw before. And then we go. The end. So, all in all, this game, we like I said, we are dying to play this game. Jared and I both got a copy because we were so enthused about, because we were both avid Borderlands players, and we just want to get into this, and this is kind of right up our alley on fun and hilariousness and randomness that we just want to get in and blow stuff up and talk like Torg. But this was an unboxing of Bunkers and Badasses by Nerdvana Games. I'm Steve from Nothing Venture Nothing Gamed, and may all your die rolls be crits, and may you always roll max damage. See you later.